What if I told you that the reason you feel stuck, unmotivated, or even broken isn't because life is unfair, but because you haven't yet rebuilt yourself? The Stoics believe that before you can master the world, you must first master yourself, your mind, your body, and your heart. And here's the brutal truth. They didn't sugarcoat it. They gave rules that cut deep, rules that force you to confront your excuses, your weaknesses, and your bad habits. But in that harshness lies your freedom. Because if you're willing to face these rules head-on, you won't just survive. You'll rebuild yourself into someone unrecognizable. So, in this video, we're going to explore 3 brutal Stoic rules that will challenge you to your core. But if you follow them, you'll discover what it means to be truly strong, peaceful, and unstoppable. And before we dive in, if Stoicism inspires you to live with more strength and clarity, make sure to subscribe so you never miss out on this journey of self-mastery. Rule number 1. Rebuild the mind. The Stoics were clear about one thing. Your mind is your fortress, and if that fortress is weak, everything else in your life will collapse. Before you can control your body or your heart, you must first train your mind to see clearly, think rationally, and resist the chaos of emotions and impulses. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This single line captures the foundation of Stoic strength. The mind is not just where you think. It is where you win or lose against life itself. But here's the brutal truth. Most people's minds are not fortified. They are fragile. They let every opinion on social media affect their mood. They let temporary setbacks convince them that they are failures. They let desires pull them in every direction, leaving them restless and exhausted. The Stoics saw this as slavery, not physical slavery, but mental slavery. And the first step to fixing yourself is to break free from it. So how do you rebuild the mind, Stoic style? The first step is mastering perception. Epictetus taught that people are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them. Think about that. 2 people can go through the same event, say, losing a job. One person spirals into despair, telling themselves they're worthless. The other sees it as an opportunity to pivot, to build something better. The event is the same, but the perception is different. That's the power of the mind. It interprets reality, and your interpretation shapes your life. To rebuild the mind, you must stop reacting blindly and start questioning your thoughts. Ask yourself, is this really as bad as I think? Am I adding unnecessary suffering by the way I'm interpreting this? The second step is controlling the narrative you tell yourself. Most people live in stories created by fear, insecurity, and comparison. They wake up already thinking about what others might say, or how they might fail, or how they're not good enough. These stories become chains. Stoicism teaches you to rewrite those stories, to remind yourself that your worth does not come from external approval, but from inner virtue. Your discipline, your honesty, your courage, your resilience. When you anchor your mind to these principles, you stop being tossed around by external chaos. But rebuilding the mind isn't only about thinking positively. It's about building mental toughness. And mental toughness is born in discomfort. The Stoics practice something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Every day, they imagine the worst that could happen. Loss, pain, rejection, even death. Not to depress themselves, but to prepare their minds so that when these things came, they weren't shocked or destroyed by them. Marcus Aurelius began many of his mornings by reminding himself, "Today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial." Most of us avoid thinking about these things, but Marcus embraced them because he knew that by preparing his mind, he could respond with calmness instead of anger. To rebuild your mind, you must train it daily. Just as the body requires exercise to grow stronger, the mind requires constant training. For the Stoics, this meant journaling, meditation, reflection, and self-examination. Seneca wrote letters to himself and others, breaking down his own weaknesses and holding himself accountable. Marcus Aurelius filled his meditations not for an audience, but as a reminder to himself of what he must practice. These were not lofty words. They were daily exercises, like a mental gym, designed to keep their mind sharp, calm, and resilient. Think of your mind as clay. If you do nothing, it hardens into the shape of your fears, your bad habits, and the influences of the world around you. But if you deliberately shape it every day, through reflection, discipline, and the pursuit of wisdom, it becomes something strong, purposeful, and unshakable. And this is where modern life traps us. Our minds are constantly hijacked by distractions. Endless notifications, gossip, drama, consumerism. Instead of training our minds, we allow them to be trained by algorithms, by advertisements, by whatever noise happens to be the loudest. The Stoic way is the opposite. It is silence, discipline, and intentional thought. Rebuilding your mind begins by cutting away the noise that pollutes it. It means taking back control of your attention. The Stoics would tell you, learn to sit quietly with your thoughts. Observe them, question them, challenge them. Do not believe everything your mind tells you, because much of it is distorted by fear and desire. Instead, filter your thoughts through reason and virtue. Ask, is this thought useful? Does it help me live a better life? Or does it weaken me? By filtering your thoughts, you begin to separate the false from the true, the destructive from the constructive. Another part of rebuilding the mind is emotional regulation. Stoicism is not about killing your emotions. It's about preventing them from controlling you. Anger, jealousy, fear. These emotions cloud judgment. If your mind is a fortress, emotions are the invaders constantly trying to storm the gates. Rule number 2. Master your body. Discipline is freedom. If the first battlefield of Stoicism is the mind, the second battlefield is the body. And make no mistake, this war is just as brutal. You may think that your body is simply flesh, muscles, and bones that carry you from place to place. But the Stoics, men like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius knew better. They understood that the body is not just a vessel. It is the testing ground where discipline is either forged or destroyed. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote in Meditations, "You must build up your life action by action, and be content if each one achieves its goal." He was reminding us that even the smallest action, whether waking up on time, choosing not to indulge in gluttony, or pushing your body through discomfort, becomes a training exercise in self-mastery. In other words, how you treat your body is how you train your soul. The trap of modern comfort. Today, we live in an age the Stoics could never have imagined. Food is available everywhere, yet our bodies are weaker than ever. Entertainment is unlimited, yet our energy levels are lower than ever. Why? Because we have fallen into the trap of modern comfort. Think about it. Air conditioning makes sure you never sweat. Streaming services ensure you're never bored. Food delivery means you never have to cook. Cars and escalators make sure you don't even need to walk. Life has been engineered to make us avoid pain, discomfort, and effort. But here's the brutal truth. A life without discomfort is a life without strength. The Stoics trained themselves in hardship deliberately. Epictetus, who was born a slave, lived a life of poverty even after gaining freedom. He kept reminding himself that wealth and luxury make you weak, while struggle makes you strong. Seneca advised practicing poverty, eating plain food, wearing rough clothes, just to remind yourself that you can survive without luxury. So when it comes to rebuilding yourself, your body is your training ground. Every time you conquer laziness, every time you push through physical resistance, you are practicing freedom. The Stoic view of the body. To the Stoics, The body was not something to worship, but something to master. They didn't care about vanity muscles or Instagram-ready abs. They cared about functionality, resilience, and control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Does your body deserve your anger? Does it deserve your laziness? It is just a vessel, given to you for a time. Use it well." Notice how he frames the body as temporary. It's on loan, not permanent, which means the real question is, how will you use it while you have it? Will you let it decay through laziness and indulgence, or will you sharpen it into a tool of discipline and service? The Stoic approach was simple. Train your body not to serve pleasure, but to serve virtue. That's why military-like training was admired. That's why enduring hunger, fatigue, or cold weather was considered noble. Because each time you discipline your body, you are training your mind to endure. The war against laziness. Now, let's be brutally honest. The biggest obstacle between you and self-mastery isn't your circumstances. It isn't your genetics. It isn't bad luck. It's laziness. The Stoics would say laziness is the silent killer of potential. It disguises itself as comfort. It whispers, "You can do it later." It convinces you that one skipped workout doesn't matter, that sleeping in one more hour is harmless, that indulging in excess food is just a treat. Rule number 3. Master your heart. Control your relationships and emotions. If rule number 1 was about the mind, and rule number 2 was about the body, then rule number 3 is about the hardest battlefield of all, the heart. The heart is where your emotions live. It's where love, anger, fear, envy, jealousy, and compassion fight for control. And unlike the mind or body, which can be disciplined through habits and practices, the heart is unpredictable. One harsh word from a stranger can throw you into rage. One rejection can shatter your confidence. One betrayal can leave you broken for years. The Stoics understood this more than anyone. They knew that unless you master your heart, you will never truly be free. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But notice, he doesn't say you can control emotions as if they were switches. Instead, he says you control your judgment about them. Because here's the truth. You can't stop feelings from rising, but you can control how you respond to them. Why emotions rule most people? Most people live as slaves to their emotions without realizing it. Anger makes them say things they regret. Fear stops them from chasing opportunity. Envy poisons their friendships. Loneliness pushes them into toxic relationships. Think about it. How many life decisions are ruined because of emotions? People marry the wrong person because they mistake infatuation for love. They quit jobs in anger without a plan. They destroy friendships out of jealousy. They waste years of their lives chasing validation, all because their hearts are untrained. The Stoics would look at this and say, "You are letting emotions, which are fleeting, control your destiny. Why surrender your life to what you do not control?" This is why rule number 3 is brutal. It demands that you stop letting emotions lead and instead put reason at the steering wheel. Stoic love, control without coldness. Now, does this mean the Stoics believed in killing emotions and becoming robots? Not at all. That's one of the biggest misunderstandings of Stoicism. They didn't want you to suppress emotions, but to master them. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And one of the biggest wastes is emotional chaos, drama, heartbreak, constant envy. The Stoic approach to love, for example, was not to avoid it, but to ground it in reality. You can love someone deeply, but remember, they are mortal, just like you. You can cherish them, but don't cling so tightly that you collapse if they leave. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You may part from your loved ones at any moment. Do not act as though you have eternity. This doesn't make love colder. It makes it purer. Because when you accept that someone can be taken from you, you appreciate them fully in the moment. You love without chains, without neediness. That is true strength of the heart. The three enemies of the heart. The Stoics identified three major forces that corrupt the heart if left unchecked. Anger. Seneca wrote an entire essay called On Anger, where he warned that anger is temporary madness. It makes us irrational, cruel, and destructive. When you give in to anger, you surrender your reason. Fear. Epictetus reminded his students that most fears are imaginary. We fear loss, rejection, and death itself. But fearing these things doesn't prevent them. It only weakens us before they arrive. Desire. Uncontrolled desire, whether for wealth, status, or pleasure, enslaves the heart. It keeps us restless, never satisfied. The Stoics taught that peace comes not from chasing more, but from wanting less. If you want to rebuild yourself, you must wage war against these three enemies. That is the essence of mastering your heart.